Niagara is alive with theater this spring. Now it's Lakeshore Catholic High School's turn with a production of the memorable 80s movie, The Breakfast Club. Now, high schools are usually doing big cast musicals. You've chosen a small ensemble cast. What are the pros and cons of that?
I think there are some pros. You get to keep a show that's very intimate. You get to tackle, I think, some of the more the scenes that are a little bit more emotional and keep the cast cohesive and not have to worry about the extra moving parts. But some of the challenges is that with a small cast, you have very little, wiggle room, room for changes, and the cast has to gel or else the entire show doesn't work.
5 actors playing the roles of the princess, the jerk, the geek, the jock, and the basket case find themselves forced to get to know each other during a Saturday detention.
What's going on with the characters is that all these different people are coming together and realizing that they're obviously not so different from one another. Each of these characters represents a completely different person, maybe not just specific people, but specific groupings of people that have all come together in one area. And it's the same thing with our cast, right? Our cast is all different people coming together to form these different characters. So at the same time, while the characters have come together and learn to accept and love one another, at the same time all the members of our cast have come together and become much closer since the process first began.
The play is all about the social groups in high school and how they interact and how they come together. And he kind of represents the undervalued and the treaded upon groups, nerds, and hence his name, the nerd, yeah. And I'm trying to kind of portray him as that, but also show his development as he arcs into seeing himself as just as good as everyone else around him, while also kind of retaining his original qualities.
PB&J with the crust cut off. Well, Brian, this is a very nutritious lunch.
Well, the thing about Molly Ringwald's portrayal is I feel like she does a really good job of making Claire look really, really confident and untouchable throughout the whole film, virtually. The thing about me is I try to make her a little more relatable because, true, you're going to be confident most of the time when you put yourself above other people, but there are a lot of moments, especially between Claire and Bender, where she kind of goes more into vulnerability the way I portray her. So I just kind of try to make her a little more relatable to the audience and just more interactive so people can understand what goes on.
30 years later, the themes of The Breakfast Club are still relevant today.
And I've always really loved the 80s. I've loved 80s movies, 80s music, and I remember my mom played it for me, and there's just something about the comedy and the realness in what John Hughes does with any movie of his. But I think it really resonated, and I thought, one day maybe I'll be one of these people. I'll be part of the criminal and part of the athlete, part of the basket case, because at the end he says we're all not just one thing, and I realized then at that age that we aren't all just one thing.
Music helped drive the movie, and it'll be no different next week on the stage at Lakeshore.
We've got 3 songs woven live within the show, just again at the beginning, intermission, and at the end. But then obviously we've used some of the big recorded pieces of music throughout the show.
The cast and crew are working hard to get ready for you, the audience. The play runs for 3 nights from April 28th to the 30th. In Port Colborne, for The Source, I'm Brenda Schultz.